Today I want to recap the top 25 with some notes on what happened on Saturday and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. So it's college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to recap and round up the top 25 with some notes on what exactly happened and what looked like a bad slate of college football games that turned out to have some historic moments and some top 25 reshuffling, and more importantly, college football playoff rankings are in chaos now. I can't wait to talk about this stuff later today on Sunday when we do the live stream where we talk about the Associated Press top 25, and on Tuesday when we do the college football playoff rankings top 25. And many of you know that we do the live streaming on this show, on this channel, at 3 p.m. Central Time on Mondays and Wednesdays. So let's start with a couple of games that got called off due to COVID. Number 8, Cincinnati. Number 24, Tulsa, was going to be played in Tulsa, and that was going to be senior day for Zaven Collins and the rest. Collins is in the running for the Butkus Award and really might actually win the best defensive player in the country's award as well. Like, the Nagurski is hard to win for a group of 5 guy, but if anybody could do it, it would be Zaven Collins. Over 50 tackles, 4 interceptions as a linebacker, 2 forced fumbles, breaking up passes, 2 sacks, something like that, just ridiculous, and 2 touchdowns this year. One of which was the game that kept them basically in the hunt to play for the conference championship next week, which is going to be in Cincinnati at Nippert against Luke Fickell and Cincinnati. So Cincinnati also has an opportunity now to maybe sneak into the back door of the college football playoff, and we'll see. Oklahoma versus West Virginia called off. Number 11 Oklahoma was going to travel to Morgantown, try to get that game back after it had been called off for COVID concerns, both on the Oklahoma side a couple weeks ago and then here on the Mountaineers side heading into the week. Number 1 Alabama rolled, absolutely destroying Arkansas 52-3. We all know who the best team in college football is, and I think we're basically saying that the number 4 team is going to get rolled up. But now with what happened to Florida, we got to talk about who's going to be in that 4 spot in earnest. So let's talk about Florida. Number 6 LSU drops a game to Number 6 Florida drops a game to LSU, 37-34. The Tigers went in undermanned, just 54 scholarship players, according to Ross Dellinger at Sports Illustrated. They were without Derek Stingley Jr. Elias Ricks went down early. They're down to 4 scholarship linebackers. They are on the 4th-string cornerback. They're starting a true freshman in Max Johnson on the road at the Swamp. And what do they do but come up with the goods? In a game where Kyle Trask goes 29 of 47 for 474 with 2 touchdowns, and Kadarius Toney has 9 catches for 182 yards with a touchdown, the difference proved to be turnovers. Kyle Trask threw 3 interceptions, and there was one in particular in the first half that might have led to 6 on a scoring drive, bounced off of LSU defensive back Dwight McLaughlin's helmet and into the hands of an LSU defender, and that's how you end up being intercepted. What I love most is that we could talk about the Marco Wilson shoe toss, and we should, but it's what happened after that that's more important. But you know what? Let's talk about the shoe toss. Marco Wilson had made a stop, looked like they were going to be in position to, or that Florida was going to be in position to take the ball back and go get a win, but Wilson picks up the shoe of an LSU player and tosses it 40 yards downfield. It lands in front of an official, and that's that, man. The official's like, wow, easiest call I'm ever going to make in my life for unsportsmanlike conduct. 15-yard penalty, 1st down for LSU. Dan Mullen was asked about the shoe toss by Marco Wilson after the game. He said, I didn't see it. I guess that's a penalty. He said, you guys see it? They said, yeah, he tossed the shoe. I guess that's a penalty. And he didn't really want to elaborate, but I feel for Marco. He's a redshirt junior, 4th-year player in your program. Not really a world beater defensively, but there's so much more that could have been done to save this game for Florida. We're going to key on that because that's the most egregious part of the game where you didn't have to go pick up that penalty. But Todd Grantham was blitzing everything that moved, and Max Johnson was a good enough quarterback as a true freshman to actually beat that blitz. And shout out to Max Johnson, son of former NFL and Super Bowl winning quarterback Brad Johnson, who went to Florida State. So his kid gets to unseat Florida at number 6 and ruin the arch nemesis' chance of making the college football playoff for the first time ever. And did we mention that LSU and Florida kind of hate each other? Ridiculously awesome win for LSU. And now Florida, 2-loss team, hopes to perhaps pull off a miracle and beat Alabama to get into the playoff. But we've never seen a 2-loss team get into the playoff. This might be the opportunity that we see for a 2-loss team, but perhaps not that 2-loss team. Get to that in a second. Georgia stomps a mud hole in Missouri, 49-14. That's number 9 versus number 25. They're a 2-loss team, but they've also got lost to Alabama and Florida. So now, you know what that is. That Florida loss does not look any good anymore because you got beat by a bad LSU team. Sorry about you, Bulldogs. North Carolina, number 17 team and a 3-loss team, stomps a mud hole in number 10 Miami, walks it dry, 62-26. That means that Miami drops from not just 8-1 to 8-2. This game, I think, was being basically played for the de facto Orange Bowl spot that was going to be left vacant by Clemson and Notre Dame because the ACC has a contractual obligation, or I should say the Orange Bowl has a contractual obligation to put in the highest-ranked ACC team not playing in the playoff. So now that we know that Notre Dame and Clemson might actually be in that thing, it looks like North Carolina would jump Miami in the polls and get that spot, especially the way that they beat them with over 50 yards rushing. 300 of those came from Michael Carter, another 240-plus from Javonte Williams. They're the best 2 skill players on any team this side of Waddle and Smith at Alabama. Just ridiculous. 62-26. Great win for North Carolina, and maybe enough to get them into a New Year's Six Bowl in this really interesting year for Mac Brown. It's quietly been a Coach of the Year candidate. Coastal Carolina comes back and picks up a really important win, 42-38 at Troy. They were down. They need to go get 6. Grayson McCall nails 24-29, 338, 3 touchdowns. There was like 700 yards of offense in this game. CJ Marable had 20 carries for 120 yards, 2 TDs. Javon Halai. 11 catches, 138 yards. They get the win to stay undefeated. They're 11-0 going into the Sun Belt Conference Championship, or what I like to call the Championship Cup game for the territorial allotment known as the Big 12. More on that in a little bit. Northwestern beats Illinois. They rushed for 411 yards on Illinois in a 28-10 victory. Perspective there is when Michigan State beat Northwestern, they only allowed 63 yards. And then, number 14 Northwestern just rolls over Lovie Smith in the Illini. USC with a dramatic come-from-behind victory to knock off UCLA to improve to 5-0. Fringe opportunity for them to make the playoff. It's them being ranked so far back makes it hard for them to get pushed forward. And that's what you have to remember. How close are these teams that we're talking about in relation to the number 4 ranking? That is the determining factor as to whether or not they get into the playoff. USC would have to jump a bunch, but now that with number 6 LSU has gone, or I keep saying LSU, number 6 Florida has gone down. Number 5 Texas A&M might take a dip because their best win was that Florida team that lost to that bad LSU team. So the transitive properties are just not in your favor if your best win or one of your best wins is Florida or Georgia, if it's one of your losses. Number 10 Miami's gone down. So number 7 Iowa State's going to move up. Number 8 Cincinnati we expect to move up. Number 11 Oklahoma we expect to move up. And number 13 Coastal Carolina we expect to move up. Number 14, Northwestern, we expect to move up. Number 15, USC, we expect to move up. And an undefeated Pac-12 champion is going to be really interesting to take into account, especially if we get some upsets in championship weekend. Iowa, number 16, Iowa beats Wisconsin. They moved to 6-2. They beat Wisconsin 28-7. It's a good football team. It has been basically since they suffer their last loss. They might be the second or third best team in the Big Ten. BYU beats San Diego State to improve to 10-1, 28-14. They're number 18. Utah knocks off undefeated number 21 Colorado, dashing their chances of representing the Pac-12 South in the Pac-12 championship game. Number 22 Oklahoma State stomped a mud hole in a very, very undermanned Baylor, 42-3. Of course, the game was called off. Ohio State versus Michigan. Number 4 Ohio State, unranked Michigan. Number 5 Texas A&M versus Ole Miss. That game was called off. Number 12 Indiana versus Purdue. That game was called off. And number 20 Texas versus Kansas. That game was called off. Before I get out of here, shout out to Sarah Fuller, who is the reason I'm wearing the female shirt. And you'll see that I basically put together a shirt. I made this myself. That is the periodic table and, female, because Iron Man. Nobody got that. She became the first woman to score in a Power 5 football game. Trailblazing, and I love it. It's awesome. Shout out to Vanderbilt for getting her into, field goal range. Tennessee's actually bad. My goodness. So, you know what? I'm just going to get out of here. We'll talk about it later. Deuces.